The thing I think that is so important to note about Somalia is that at its core, it's a humanitarian mission. Obviously we were combat units that went in there to do a specific thing, but we were there to help the relief organizations that had been present for quite some time. There was a particular individual, Mohammed Faradid, who was identified as being probably most likely behind a lot of the violence that was occurring against really the threats against ICRC, UN, and other participating nations. And our mission was to go in there and try to capture him and then 49 other individuals in his clan.
Can you describe to us the moment your helicopter was hit?
We were hit by a rocket-propelled grenade in the tail, and it blew the tail off, caused us to spin violently, and we crashed in a shanty town. They seemed a bit disorganized initially. I don't think they really expected to capture an American, and I don't think they knew, at least at that level, what to do. So they were arguing and debating about what to do with me, and I ended up getting moved a couple of times until settling down after about 24 hours.
I remember the beginning of that week. I mean, the attack took place on a Sunday, and it was Friday morning. It was our day off since we were living in a Muslim country. And I was trying to relax at home, and I got this radio call from one of our field officers who just asked me, "Suzanne, are you ready?" And immediately I knew what he was speaking about, and I said yes. And I was expecting to find an ICRC vehicle in front of the door to drive me to where Michael was held. And in fact, it wasn't an ICRC car. It was just a very old private car with a driver, 3 gunmen, and I couldn't reach my boss, who was head of delegation.
So you're not supposed to get in a car with 3 gunmen.
Not at all. Not at all. But anyway, when you are on a mission, somehow you don't ask yourselves that many questions. I had to go. The opportunity was given to me. I was trusting the national staff with whom I was working. We stopped by a private house, and they said, "That's it." I said, "Okay." And here came the person who was in charge of the house, was probably the owner, and we had a very short negotiation. I just asked him to be left alone to talk with Michael, and he let me in, and then it was a very emotional moment when I saw Michael lying on his mattress, visibly injured, suffering, and quite relieved to see me.
Just the fact that the Red Cross might be coming improved the conditions for me dramatically. Up until that point, I was dirty. They hadn't really done much. I was laying on the concrete. There were dead flies everywhere. It was about as filthy a environment as you could imagine. And on that morning, which was not my day off, by the way, they cleaned it up. I mean, they swept up the flies. They sprayed air freshener in there. They brought a mattress in. The good news is it never changed back. It wasn't like, as soon as she left, the mattress was jerked out from under me, and it stayed that way for the rest of the visit. But when she walked through the door, and you heard me on the video, I mean, it really, I've always described it as an angel walking through the door. It really felt that way. And the thing that I remember was holding your hand. That was, like I said, the link to the outside world, because you're surrounded by hostile people that you think are going to kill you at the drop of a hat, and to see someone who's there for that reason, just it's hard to describe. It's hard to put it into words.
When you got back to your base, reported what you'd done, I understand the Americans were rather interested in where he was.
The day after, I was invited by the U.S. forces. They wanted to thank me for visiting Michael, and I wasn't too keen to go because I knew exactly what would come up. I could understand that they would want me to tell them where Michael was. And first of all, I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. I knew it was in southern Mogadishu, but with all the zigzags we'd been doing, I would have been unable to show them on a map where it was. And anyway, I had good hopes that we could negotiate his first of all, medical care and release. So I thought that trying anything by force would be far too dangerous for him and for everybody. After a few minutes, I said, "Let's stop, because we won't get to what you want to get. I don't know where he is, so I can't tell you." So.
I understand that. I think it's, if you think about it in practical terms, that's the way it has to be. Otherwise, access to people who need access is going to be discontinued. So. I want to say that Suzanna and I have agreed to meet every 20 years here in Washington.